Hello everybody! If you want to read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 674, The Dog Who Bossed Her Owner. Upper beginner. Fred was a pensioner who lived in a small flat in London. He was 75 years old, with white hair and a big smile. Every day he shuffled around in his slippers, forgetting where he put his glasses or his cup of tea. His best friend was Daisy, his clever brown terrier dog. Daisy had shiny fur and bright eyes. She loved Fred, but she often had to look after him, like a mum looks after a child. One sunny morning, Fred decided to go to the market. "Right, Daisy," he said, putting on his coat. "Time for some fresh bread and cheese." He grabbed his shopping bag and opened the door. Daisy wagged her tail and followed him down the stairs. But halfway to the market, Fred patted his pocket. "Oh no, where's my wallet?" He turned back home, scratching his head. Daisy trotted ahead, her nose sniffing the air. She knew exactly where the wallet was. Under the sofa, where Fred had left it last night while watching the football on TV. Back at the flat, Daisy pushed the sofa with her paws and pulled out the wallet with her teeth. She dropped it at Fred's feet. "Good girl," Fred laughed, giving her a biscuit. "How did you know? You're smarter than me." That afternoon, Fred wanted to take Daisy for a walk in the park. He looked at the clock. "It's 5:30. Perfect time." He clipped on Daisy's lead and they stepped outside. But the sun was going down and the street lights were flickering on. It was evening, not morning. Fred had forgotten it was autumn when the days got short. In the park they met Mrs. Patel from next door. "Fred, what are you doing here so late?" she asked, holding her shopping bag. Fred blushed. "Just enjoying the fresh air." Daisy, however, had other ideas. She spotted a squirrel and pulled Fred towards a bush. The squirrel ran up a tree and Daisy yanked the lead hard. Fred tripped over his own feet and landed in a pile of wet leaves. "Oof!" he groaned. Mrs. Patel giggled. "Daisy is walking you, Fred, not the other way around." Daisy sat down and licked Fred's face, as if to say, "Time to go home, silly." Fred stood up, covered in leaves, and they headed back. "You're right, old girl," he said. "No more late walks." The next day was even funnier. Fred felt hungry and decided to make his famous shepherd's pie. "I'll chop the onions and boil the potatoes," he told Daisy, who watched from her basket. He turned on the oven and put in the dish, but Fred forgot one important thing. He left the plastic lid on the potatoes. Soon, smoke filled the kitchen. "What's that smell?" Fred coughed, waving a tea towel. Daisy barked loudly and jumped up. She grabbed Fred's sleeve in her mouth and dragged him to the door. Then she ran to the phone on the wall and pawed at it. Fred's eyes went wide. "The fire brigade! Oh dear!" He dialed 999 just in time. The firefighters arrived quickly. 2 strong men in yellow helmets. They turned off the oven and opened the windows. "Lucky you had this smart dog," one said, patting Daisy. "She saved the day." Fred sat on the sofa, red-faced, while the firefighters ate the undamaged bread from the market. "Well," Fred said with a chuckle, "I thought I was the boss, but Daisy runs this house." Daisy curled up on his lap, her tail thumping happily. From that day on, Fred started writing notes to himself. "Wallet under sofa? No. Walk in daylight? Yes. Plastic off potatoes? Always." And so Fred and Daisy lived together in their little flat, with Daisy keeping Fred out of trouble. Fred learned to listen to his clever dog, and Daisy got extra biscuits every day. They were the best team in London, a forgetful man and his bossy best friend. Vocabulary notes. Pensioner. Definition. An older person who is retired from work and receives a government payment, like a pension, to live on. Example. Fred was a pensioner who lived in a small flat in London. Similar words: retiree, someone who has stopped working, often in old age. Senior citizen, a polite way to refer to an elderly person. OAP, old age pensioner, a British term for someone receiving a pension. Shuffled, definition: to walk slowly and without lifting your feet fully off the ground, often because you are tired or old. Example: every day he shuffled around in his slippers, forgetting where he put his glasses or his cup of tea. Similar words: plodded, walked heavily and slowly, like carrying a heavy load. Tottered, walked unsteadily, as if about to fall. Ambled, walked in a relaxed, slow way without hurry. Trotted, definition: of a dog or small animal, to run at a steady, light pace that is faster than walking, but slower than a full run. Example: Daisy trotted ahead, her nose sniffing the air. Similar words: jogged, ran slowly and steadily, like light exercise. Pattered, moved quickly with light, soft steps, often for small animals. Scuttled, moved quickly with short, hurried steps. Yanked, definition: to pull something suddenly and with force. Example: Daisy yanked the lead hard. Similar words: jerked, pulled quickly and sharply. Tugged, pulled hard, often repeatedly. Hauled, pulled with great effort, like something heavy. Blushed, definition: to become red in the face, usually because of embarrassment. Example: Fred blushed. Similar words: flushed, became red in the face from heat, exercise, or emotion. Coloured, went red, especially from shyness. Cringed, shrank back in embarrassment, more about body language than face colour. Story written by Grok AI. Image created by onemin.ai. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
All right, let's dive into a story that really gets at a question I think every pet owner has wondered about. Who is actually in charge here? It's this fantastic tale about a forgetful man and his very, very clever dog who, well, she looks out for him. You know what? Let's start with the punchline. This one quote from our main guy, Fred, it just sums up the entire story perfectly. So, the question is, how did he get here? Let's rewind and find out.
Okay, so picture this. A small flat in London. It's home to Fred and his brilliant best friend, a little terrier named Daisy. And the relationship is, let's just say it's a little bit unconventional.
What's so great about this story is the dynamic between these two. On one side, you've got Fred. He's 75, always misplacing things. His glasses, his cup of tea, you name it. And on the other side, you've got Daisy, this super sharp terrier who seems to be looking after him more than he's looking after her. And just so we're all on the same page, a pensioner is just someone who's retired. So for Fred, that means his days are pretty relaxed, filled with lots of time for tea and, as we'll see, the occasional little mishap. Yeah, that word shuffled just paints a perfect picture of his life, doesn't it? It's slow-paced, it's comfortable, and it's a life where little details can kind of get lost in the day-to-day. And that brings us to Fred's forgetfulness. This is where it gets really fun. We're going to look at a few incidents, or fumbles, that show, without a doubt, just how much Daisy is the real brains of this operation. So it all starts with something simple. Fred's heading out to the market. He's got his coat, he's got his shopping bag, Daisy's by his side. But then, halfway down the street, he does that classic pat down of his pockets and realizes, oh no, his wallet's gone. We've all had that moment, right?
But here's the thing. Daisy is not worried at all. She knows exactly what's up. And check this out. She has a perfect 4-step plan. First, she just trots back to the flat. Then she gets to the sofa, pushes it with her paws, pulls out the wallet he left there, and just drops it right at his feet. Boom, problem solved.
And Fred's reaction? It's not frustration, it's pure awe. He's just so delighted and amazed. You can tell he already knows he's got a special dog, and this is just the first big clue of how smart she really is. I love that word, trotted. It shows you everything you need to know about her attitude. She wasn't panicked, she was on a mission. And believe me, her missions were just getting started.
Okay, if you thought the wallet thing was clever, wait until you hear this. Fred looks at the clock. It says 5:30. He thinks, perfect time for a walk. The only tiny problem? It's 5:30 in the evening, in autumn, not the morning. The sun's already going down.
So they get to the park, and Daisy is trying everything to get him to turn around. She yanks on the lead so hard that Fred actually trips and lands in a pile of leaves. And his neighbor, Mrs. Patel, sees the whole thing and just hits the nail on the head with this fantastic line.
And yeah, that yank was not a gentle suggestion. That was a direct order from Daisy. It was a clear message. Time to go home, you silly man.
So up until now, these fumbles have been pretty harmless, right? A lost wallet, a mistaken walk. But this next one, this is where the story shifts from a funny little comedy of errors to a genuine life-or-death emergency. Fred decides to make his famous shepherd's pie. He's chopping, he's boiling, he puts the dish in the oven, but he forgets one tiny, crucial detail. He left the plastic lid on it, and pretty soon the kitchen starts to fill up with smoke. And this is where Daisy goes from clever companion to full-on superhero. She has a rescue plan, and it's perfect. Step 1, alert Fred with loud, frantic barks. Step 2, get him out of there, literally dragging him by his sleeve to the front door. And step 3, call for help, running to the phone and pawing at it. Just incredible.
Fred gets the message loud and clear. He dials 999, that's the UK emergency number, and he gets help on the way just in time. A potential disaster was completely avoided, all because of Daisy.
And this quote is so important. This isn't just Fred's opinion anymore. The actual professionals, the firefighters, they show up and they immediately see who the real hero of the story is. Daisy gets the official seal of approval. So after all that drama, once the smoke clears, literally, so does any confusion about who's really running the show in that little flat. That fire, that was the final piece of evidence Fred needed. And here we are, right back where we started. But now this quote has so much more weight, doesn't it? It's funny, it's humble, and it is a completely accurate description of his life. He finally gets it. So from that day forward, things actually changed. Fred started leaving himself little notes, reminders about all the things Daisy had to fix for him. And of course, the most important new rule of them all: extra biscuits for the dog who saved his life every single day.
So, what can we take away from this amazing story? I mean, it's so much more than just a cute tale about a smart dog. It's really about the incredible intelligence our animal companions have and the power of that bond.
In the end, they weren't just a man and his dog. They were a perfect team. This story shows how that deep, intuitive connection can work, where one person's weakness is totally balanced by the other's strength. And it leaves us with a fun little thought to end on. Whether it's a pet, a partner, maybe even one of your kids, this story kind of makes you look around and ask with a smile, yeah, who's really running the show here?